In today's video, we are going to have an analysis of A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man by James Joyce. This novel is a very important novel of the 20th century. You have to be very careful about the title because it is A Portrait of the Artist and it's not The Portrait. So many people tend to make mistakes there. Now let's look at a brief bio of James Joyce. James Joyce is one of the greatest innovators in 20th century modern literature. He was an iconic figure according to the 20th century literature. His chief contribution is stream of consciousness technique, which is chiefly illustrated in his work Ulysses. Ulysses was also a benchmark of the 20th century literature. Stream of consciousness technique, which was actually put forth by Dorothy Richardson. Stream of consciousness is a technique of writing in which writers write as if they are writing their thoughts. We know that our thoughts flow like a stream. Stream of consciousness technique is actually writing your thoughts. James Joyce delves into human mind and specializes in recording feelings, emotions, recollections, memories, anticipations, etc. A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man describes the development of James Joyce as an artist through the fictional character of Stephen Dedalus from his early childhood till the time of early manhood. So this is a semi-autobiographical novel. It actually records James Joyce's own personal lives through the character of Stephen Dedalus. The subject of A Portrait is the development of a young man from creature to creator. The young man develops by casting off the shackles of patriotism, religion, and language. The book necessarily describes the agony of the artist, his sensitivity, his passion, his struggles to rise above his companions. So it is the development of a person and it is also the development of an artist. So Stephen develops from a creature, from a man to a creator or an artist in this novel. Stephen's conflicts which leads him to choose the life of an artist. Now let's look at his life. The major events that happen in Stephen's life triggered an array of conflicting ideas in his mind which called into question the sanctity of doctrines related to religion, which is the Roman Catholic religion, politics, the Irish politics, identity, and etc. Quest for identity. Right from school days, Stephen was greatly in quest for his identity. Stephen started to realize the importance of self-respect after he was pushed into a cesspool by his fellow classmates Wells. Gradually, Stephen becomes megalomaniac in nature. He becomes self-important and he wants importance from other people. He imagines the occasion of his own death and how people will come to pay homage to his soul, and thereby he believed that he will be elevated to the pedestal of importance. Megalomaniac is a person who wants power, who is interested in power. So Stephen's idea of justice comes in conflict. Stephen was once unjustly punished by his teacher, Father Dolan. He reported his grievance to the rector, who assured that he will take proper action. Stephen for the first time felt an air of triumph, but it was soon replaced by embarrassment when the rector failed to keep his promise. Stephen came to realize that justice is only served at the cost of authority. So here in his early childhood itself, he understands how justice comes in conflict with power, disillusionment with religion. Religion proved to be a baffling idea for Stephen. It was very confusing for Stephen. His infatuation with neighborhood girl proved to be disastrous once Dante revealed that she is a Protestant and Stephen was a Catholic. Stephen, for the first time, confronted the idea of schism or division in religion. The incident also filled Stephen's mind with terror when Dante told that eagles would come and pull out his eyes if he committed that kind of folly or crime, because Aileen, the girl to whom he was infatuated with, was a Protestant while he belonged to a Roman Catholic family. So in that early childhood itself, Stephen had this confusing idea about religion because he couldn't understand why within a religion itself there should be broad divisions and why should people segregate themselves based on different sects and everything. So it was very confusing to him. Stephen's sexual urges. During the adolescent stage, Stephen developed a kind of sexual urge. His visit to Queen's College with his father instigated sexuality. His fierce longing for sex could no longer be controlled by himself. Going to brothels became a daily routine with Stephen. The pleasure with the prostitute women offered a chance for Stephen to escape from the discords around him. Relief in religion. Father Arnold's retreat session exerted great influence upon Stephen. He started to realize his mistakes. Father Arnold's description of hellfire, which is a punishment for the mortal sins of men, frightened him. A sense of guilt tormented him, and he started to seek relief in religion. Religion became a haven for him. So, in this retreat session, it really hit him hard, and he became interested in religion and everything. Then comes rejection of priesthood. Stephen became an ardent devotee for a short period of time. The director was greatly impressed by his religious devotion, gravity, and piety. He invited Stephen to accept the vocation of priest. Though initially the idea of priesthood did astonish him, he later realized the limitations of priesthood. He thought that his life as a priest would be a life without material cares and also a grave and passionless life. So, at first he liked the idea of priesthood, but then he understood that it is not for him. So, he was an ardent devotee during. Stephen had also noticed the long and white arms of Eileen Vance, which reminded him of the Tower of Ivory and in turn about Virgin Mary. He was also confused with the idea that how a Catholic like him could understand the concept of Catholicism through a Protestant girl. The Tower of Ivory is actually a term used in Holy Litany, the prayer of the Catholics, which is actually a reference to Virgin Mary. So he becomes confused that why is he reminded of Virgin Mary when he sees the hands of Eileen Vance, who is a Protestant girl. So he gets confused. How can he understand Catholicism to a Protestant girl? Conflicts with politics. Politics remained an unresolved mystery for Stephen. On a Christmas day, Stephen becomes an onlooker for a verbal fight between his family members about politics. Dante, who was an ardent Catholic, showered ungraceful comments on Parnell, who was an Irish nationalist, on the grounds that he loved a married woman. So he couldn't quite understand why religion and politics comes together. Mistrust in patriotism. The injustice served to Parnell made Stephen to doubt the authenticity of Irish nationalist movement and the false patriotism of his countrymen. Although his father and uncle supported Parnell, Dante's condemnation reverberated in Stephen's mind. So this kept echoing in his head why somebody's individual life should be connected with religion and why he should be patronized for such a thing. So it was all so confusing to Stephen because Parnell was a great Irish nationalist leader who actually led to the liberation of the country in that point of time in his life after the retreat. So the retreat had really hit him hard to a point that he wanted to become a priest, but later he understood that it's not for him. The chill and order of priestly life repelled him, and this also conflicted with his idea of liberation. He had always thought of himself as an independent person, as being apart from others. Thus, Stephen completely gave up the idea of priesthood. Alienation from family. During his childhood days, Stephen adored his father and considered him a perfect role model, but later he came to realize that his father was solely responsible for the financial downfall of their family, and thereafter he started to hate him. His mother's opposition to send Stephen to University College alienated the motherly figure from his mind. In spite of his efforts to establish a closer relationship with his family members, he had not been able to bridge the gulf that divided him from his father, mother, brothers, and sisters. Stephen's determination to become an artist. Stephen's maturity as an individual is portrayed in the 4th chapter. In the university, his classmates teased him, calling him Daedalus, a master craftsman from Greece. But this fun-making had a positive impact on Stephen, and he started to identify himself with Daedalus. Once in a beach, he saw a girl wading in the sea, and he could enjoy the aesthetic beauty of that scene, and thereby he discovers that his vocation is to become an artist. That was an epiphanic moment in Stephen's life. So epiphany is an important element in James Joyce's works. Protagonist always getting a life lesson or a great revelation. So the image of a girl wading in the sea evokes in Stephen a kind of an artistic instinct and not a sexual instinct. So thus he realizes that his vocation is to become an artist. The Greek mythical figure Daedalus, who was a master craftsman, actually influenced him. That was also his surname to become an artist. Stephen's decision to leave Ireland. Stephen realized that he could only flourish by becoming free of all collective entanglements and commitments in the external world. Stephen told Cranley that he was about to leave Ireland. As Stephen himself puts it, he is determined to escape from his nationality, language, religion, etc., which he regards as nets obstructing the flight of the artistic soul. When the soul of a man is born in this country, there are nets flung at it to hold it back from flight. You talk to me of nationality, language, religion. I shall try to fly by those nets. So he feels that he is completely entangled by all these shackles that actually pulled him down. So he felt that if the soul of a man is born in a country of such shackles, he should break those shackles and should fight against those and fly with it. So that is why Stephen decided to leave Ireland. James Joyce himself was in self-exile from Ireland and he went to Europe in order to pursue his artistic career. Here we have the clearest and most mature statement from Stephen in the whole novel. I will tell you what I will do and what I will not do. I will not serve that in which I no longer believe, whether it call itself my home, my fatherland, or my church, and I will try to express myself in some mode of life for art as freely as I can and as wholly as I can, using for my defense the only arms I allow myself to use: silence, exile, and cunning. So these quotes are very important in the novel, and these quotes are the defining features of this novel. He chooses silence, exile, and cunning to counteract language, nationality, and religion. He has to exile himself from Ireland not only because of the shackles, but also because he felt that he cannot be an artist if he is in Ireland. Throughout the novel, we see Stephen stumbling through his childhood by a series of painfully misjudged but unavoidable steps. At the end, he may not achieve full maturity, but he does achieve a degree of freedom from what he sees as the nets cast by society and its authorities. At least he learns to distinguish and define the nets over which he must fly, which is no small achievement and a necessary beginning to independence. So he realizes that he is entangled by these nets, and he also understands that he should free himself from these nets, then only he can become an artist. A portrait of the artist as a young man, as a typical consular roman. We know that the novel is a Bildungsroman, that it is a story of the development of an individual. It is also a consular roman, that is the story of the development of an artist. Consular roman. It is a novel of the making of an artist. It is a subtype of the Bildungsroman, translated into English as artist, consular in German, and novel, roman in French. Represents the development of a novelist or other artist from childhood into the stage of maturity that signalizes the recognition of the protagonist's artistic destiny and mastery of an artistic craft. It was embraced by Charles Dickens and Alfred Lord Tennyson. James Joyce's A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man is a standard bearer of this genre. Origin of consular roman traces its origin to Germanic romantic tradition of the 18th century. Were drawn to the freedom of artistic expression apparent in Romanticism and the beliefs of its biggest advocate, Goethe. The writer Goethe saw writing as a means to personal contemplation. His work, Wilhelm Meister's Apprenticeship, was the genesis or the beginning of consular roman and Bildungsroman. Bildung philosophy, full development of a person's possibilities. Consular roman, passage of the protagonist from a shapeless child to a fully formed artist. It spread to English language in the 19th century. So Goethe was actually the proponent of Bildungsroman and consular roman. We can see this genre in his works mainly, and he actually influenced the flourishing of this genre into English and other into England and other European countries. Characteristics of a typical consular roman: restricted childhood, either by limitations of their home life or by the interference of people around them. Finds education from a variety of sources. Stephen finds education from Clongowes College, Belvedere College, University College of Dublin, etc. Teachers are two counteracting forces for the artist. First one nurtures the artistic career, aesthetic beauty that he enjoys on seeing a girl wading in the sea, after which he discovers that his vocation is to become an artist. Second, act as an obstacle to success, issues related to family, religion, politics, and romance. So these are the teaching forces that Stephen had in becoming an artist. Intellectual growth of Stephen. Pull out his eyes, apologize, apologize, pull out his eyes, apologize, pull out his eyes, pull out his eyes, apologize. This is a nursery rhyme that Stephen wrote as a child. This is the first intellectual attempt by Stephen to become a true artist. This proves his artistic skill because he uses a rhyme scheme in this poem. We can see artistic imagination also in his imagination of his own funeral. He has a detailed visualization of his funeral like a photographic image, and it carries the features of consular romance. So this particular scene in the novel carries the features of a consular romance because we can definitely see the gradual growth of Stephen as a young child to an adolescent and also to a great man becoming an artist. Undeveloped language, short, direct, fragmented sentences without conjunctions. The language is childish. Muko, taku, and nonsense are words a child might say or words that an adult might say to a child. Childhood experiences foreshadow his future artistic personality. Language matures with growth of the protagonist, longer sentences and improved word choices in the latter part of the novel. He is a talented observer. He remembers a song that was often sung to him. What happens to the bed sheet when he wets them, the smell of his mother and father, his mother's piano playing, etc. So the novel is written in a gradual development of a person. Also, as the person develops, the language of the person also develops. So in the beginning of the beginning of the novel is written as if a child speaks them or in a child's language, and in the middle we can see the adolescent language, and as Stephen becomes adolescent, language also becomes mature. Like that, the language of the novel also matures along with the protagonist. So it is a technique used by James Joyce in order to show to the reader that his this is a complete Bildungsroman, and it is a story of the development of an artist. So Stephen is a talented observer, which is a great quality that an artist must need. As a child itself, he used to imagine things, what would happen to his bed sheet if he wets it, and sort of things like that. And all of these are instances of his artistic capabilities. Escape to another location, far removed from origins, he has to exile himself from Ireland not only because of his personal disgust and to avoid the nets, but also because of the Irish people's hostility towards their artists. The eager and will for flying away from his homeland is a necessary element of consular romance hero, as he must cultivate and improve himself intellectually to be an artist, said Tobias Boas. Stephen's exile provides him with a place where he broadens his intellectual mind and improves his potential as a free artist. He considers nationality, religion, language, etc. as nets obstructing the flight of the artistic soul. The novel reflects the belief art for art's sake. An artist was to remain aloof from society and devote himself to his art. So the artist should distance himself from society and devote himself completely to his art. So this has the ideals of aestheticism, that is art for art's sake. An artist should only focus on his art and not anything else. So the exile is also the exile that happened in James Joyce's life, that he also was in a self-exile, and he exiled himself from Ireland to Europe to become a free artist. I go to encounter for the millionth time the reality of experience and to forge in the smithy of my soul the uncreated conscience of my race. Stephen's artistic manifesto. These final lines of the novel proclaim Stephen's aim to be an artist for the rest of his life. The phrase, the smithy of my soul, indicates that he strives to be an artist whose individual consciousness is the foundation for all of his work. The reference to the uncreated conscience of my race implies that he strives to be an artist who uses his individual voice to create a voice and conscience for the community that he is in. So that is the ending of the novel. So that was all about a portrait of the artist as a young man. So this is the novel of the development of an artist, the novel of the development of a person, as he himself tries to understand what his vocation is and how he should develop himself an artist and how he should free himself from the shackles that he is tied to. So that is all about it. You can also check out my other videos in my YouTube channel. Thank you. Thank you for watching.